And joining us right now is Chuck Thies. He is Mayor Vincent Gray's 2014 campaign manager, close friend and advisor. And we hear that former Mayor Gray has a big announcement to make today. Chuck, thanks for joining us. Why don't you give us a little hint here? What are we going to hear from the former mayor?
Sure. Good morning, and thanks for making time. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, I don't want to get out ahead of Vince, but at noon today, he will be making an announcement with regard to his plans for the 2016 election cycle. And it's no secret, and it has already been rumored or reported to a certain degree that he is entering one of two possible races for the D.C. Council.
So you're not going to knock down those rumors. You think that we should take those and sort of run with them, maybe?
Well, I'm going to go one step further than that and tell you that at noon today he will be announcing a campaign for D.C. Council. The mystery is which race has he chosen. He's eligible to run at large, citywide, or he can run in his home ward, which is Ward 7.
Can I ask you, Chuck, that Mayor Gray, when he was running for re-election, was obviously under a huge cloud with the federal investigation over his original election and the campaign, the alleged improprieties. And, boy, a lot of that news came out during that primary process. It looked like some sort of indictment was imminent. Now the U.S. Attorney's Office has backed off of it completely. But the cloud is still there. How does the former mayor escape that?
Well, a couple of things. Among Vince's base, I ran a PAC recently and we did a poll, and among Vince's base, at least half of the people who have an opinion of the matter say that they do not trust the federal prosecutors. In fact, they don't trust the media, in particular the Washington Post, and its portrayal of the investigation. Let's be clear, the U.S. Attorney spent millions, if not tens of millions of dollars, and for over 5 years investigated the 2010 campaign, brought no charges, brought no indictment against Vince Gray. He's an innocent man. So the fact that he was smeared by investigators and smeared by the Washington Post and a handful of other journalists means very little to his base. It's not an impediment to an election. As a matter of fact, I was jousting last night on Twitter with a journalist from the Washington Post, and I said, you keep beating that drum. You keep hammering away at Vince Gray. You're making him a sympathetic figure. You're doing us a favor. It's easier now to get him elected.
Well, that is true. Nothing ever came of, no charges ever emerged against Vince Gray, but a lot of charges were brought against people that were surrounding Vince Gray. And it doesn't that raise a few questions? I mean, if it's his campaign and some of these things were going on and he didn't know about it, doesn't that raise a question, a fair question?
No, absolutely not. Criminals, by design, hide their criminal activity from law-abiding people. I ran the mayor's 2014 re-election campaign. And is it possible that someone of the hundreds of volunteers, and let's keep in mind, only one of the people charged for wrongdoing regarding the 2010 campaign was a Gray campaign staffer. All the others were not legally, officially associated with the campaign. So criminals work in the shadows, and they try to hide their wrongdoing from law-abiding people. There's no doubt that if you run a corporation with hundreds or thousands of people, you run a campaign with hundreds of people, some individuals could attempt to break the law, and in this case, they did break the law. But that doesn't mean the principal knows about it. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a perfect example. Jeffrey Thompson, the man who funded the illegal activity in 2010, also spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on illegal activity on behalf of Hillary Clinton in her 2008 campaign against Barack Obama. Do people wonder if Hillary Clinton knew about that money? I haven't heard anyone raise that question.
Oh, we wonder about that all the time. Yes.
Well, okay,
so we have this in common, Chuck.
That. But it's interesting. The Washington Post, who led the charge against Vince Gray, they don't wonder about that.
Yeah. No, listen, it's a great point, Chuck Thies. And frankly, on our mutual dislike of how the Washington Post injects their own partisan politics, and not even partisan politics, but their personal politics into their reporting, we can definitely reach common ground on that. Can I ask, first of all, a quick answer, because I have a follow-up question. Are you going to be Mayor Gray's campaign manager for whichever seat he is going to be running for?
You know, I've said many times I'm a soldier in Vince's army, and what he needs me to do, I will do.
Right.
There are no official roles yet established other than he will announce his chair today, and yes, I will handle the finances. I'll be the treasurer.
Gotcha.
But in terms of the management and day-to-day roles of different campaign staff, that hasn't been hammered out yet.
Let me ask you this. Last year was not a great year in the District of Columbia, having to do with homicides and having to do with other kinds of crime. It was Mayor Bowser's first year as mayor, and she even said that her first year was consumed, unfortunately, because of the crime problems. What's Mayor Gray's opinion of that? The fact that he leaves office and suddenly we have this huge crime wave, and what will he do as council member to fix this problem?
Well, you know, Vince has lived here his whole life, and every job that Vince has ever had has been dedicated to community service. A wide range of jobs, but always serving the communities of Washington, D.C. And when he sees something like homicide spiking, he has deep concerns. I'll tell you this, though. Vince Gray doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about Muriel Bowser and thinking about the job she's doing. Vince Gray is a hands-on guy. So he will do what he needs to do as a council member to address issues, whether it's affordable housing, the alarming rise in homicides, jobs. I mean, one of the issues here is that young people in the district need a leader. They need someone to look at, a role model. And Vince has always been that person and can continue to be that person.
Right.
The interesting thing here, the 4 years that Vince Gray was mayor, homicides were their lowest in a generation. He's out of office a year. We're back to where we were with a homicide rate a decade ago.
All right. I mean, he's going to be asked his opinions, and I'm just going to ask you one. I mean, right now, the council is actually considering the possibility of having private marijuana pot clubs in the district. Do you have any sense of where Vincent Gray would be on that particular issue if he were to become a member of the council?
I have not asked him that. It's a very good question, and I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that with regard to medical marijuana, which was stalled for over a decade, Vince Gray upheld the law that voters passed in 1998 and previous mayors and previous councils had stymied. So if there's a law, he will help to enforce it. But I'm not aware of his position on pot clubs.
One other quick question about something in the news right now in the district. You know, Mayor Gray, when he came into office, education and the school district here in D.C., as you well know, was a big part of his campaign. Muriel Bowser announced yesterday that she wants to make the school year longer. So kids are in school longer. The teachers will have to work 11 months out of the year. This is something that Mayor Gray will have to face when he is on the council if he wins. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, this is very common in the Bowser administration. What we're seeing is her take credit for Gray's initiatives. He actually began the discussion of longer school years and keeping kids in school longer. As a matter of fact, he's the one who pioneered universal pre-K in the district. So we've seen this throughout the Bowser administration. There are Gray initiatives, things that he had in the pipeline, or things that he actually accomplished that she takes credit for. So this is something that
right.
Mayor Gray supports.
Chuck Thies, thanks for joining us today.
And we'll forgo a question about the streetcars. We'll let that one go.
Yeah, we're going to let you off the hook on the streetcars today. But
well,
you know what?
I will tell you this. You know, they're talking about having a gondola connect
Georgetown and Arlington.
Georgetown and Roslyn. I have a great idea. Let's just take one of those streetcars and string it up on a steel cable and let it go back and forth across the Potomac.
We will leave it there. Chuck Thies, give our best to Mayor Vincent Gray.
Idea.
And you know what? He used to frequently join us here on Mornings on the Mall. We'd love to hear from him after he makes his announcement.
I'm sure he'll love to be back. You
Thanks,
guys have
Chuck.
a great day.
It's 7:15.